Hey guys, this is Luke Jones with Indie Windows. Today we're going to do a tutorial of Windows 8, and we're just going to do the basics, and this is going to be a non-touchscreen tutorial. So this is for people who don't have a touchscreen and have Windows 8 and want to know how to use it with their mouse and keyboard. So the first thing you get when you install Windows 8 is you get brought to the start screen. And it may not look exactly like this because it's kind of synced up with one of my other screens. Oh, one thing I want to mention is I'm running this on a virtual machine, and so there may be some laggy kind of issues with that. I just needed to be able to do that so that I could actually screen capture the start screen, which is hard to do in Windows 8. So if you notice any performance issues, that's probably what it is due to, is the virtual machine. So also, if you see this little bar come down, that's what that is. You won't see that on Windows 8, but that's just part of the virtual machine. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is how to scroll the start screen. So you can kind of think of the start screen as your start menu. This is kind of replacing the start menu that you had on previous versions of Windows. And it holds all of the apps, links, all kinds of things that you want to get to quickly or that you use a lot. So one way you can scroll it is just using your scroll wheel. So if you go up and down on the scroll wheel, it will scroll your start screen. You can also use this little scroll bar at the bottom and scroll left and right. So that's how you kind of get around with the start screen. You can also use the keyboard if you want, just to kind of tab around. You'll see that it shows which tile is selected with a little white border. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go over is actually the live tiles. These are, well, actually not all of the tiles are not necessarily live. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It depends on which features are enabled in the actual app. So if the app has live tile functionality, it will be live. Otherwise, it will just be a static tile. So if you look at messaging, messaging is not a live tile. This Bing tile is a live tile, but I have the live functionality actually turned off, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So I'll go ahead and right click on a tile to select it. You get a blue box with a check. That means that that tile is selected. You can select multiple tiles if you want to be able to, say, unpin a bunch of tiles at once. You can do that. I'll go ahead and clear that selection and just select the Bing tile. And if you look down at the bottom, you get a bunch of options that you can do with that tile. And one of the options is turn live tile on. So I'll go ahead and turn the live tile on. And now you'll notice that it's updating. It's kind of jumping around and scrolling, showing me some trending searches that are on Bing and that sort of thing. And that's the kind of information that you can get with a live tile. If you notice over on my calendar, I've got my next calendar appointment showing up there. If I want to resize this tile, so say I don't want a full double wide live tile for Bing, I just want a smaller one similar to Maps and the SkyDrive one over here. I just click smaller and it resizes. It still stays live, so that's kind of cool. So you get just a smaller version of the tile. If you want to move a tile around, simply just click on it and drag it around. And you'll see the other tiles sort of move out of the way for it, and you can drop it wherever you want it to be. The next thing we're going to go over is groups. So, well, actually, I think I missed something. Let's talk about unpinning. So you can unpin live tiles. So say this is an app that you use, but you don't use it a lot, or you don't want it on your start screen for whatever reason. You can simply unpin it and it'll disappear. It did not uninstall it. It just took it off your start screen. If you want to uninstall an app, so say I don't use this news app and I want to uninstall it, click uninstall. It will prompt you to make sure that you're sure you want to uninstall, and it's gone, and it takes it off your start screen, and it's also uninstalled, so it is no longer on your machine. So the next thing I want to go over is groups. if you notice at the top of these tiles, there's a little heading. This one says main, this one says internet, and there's some space here, a bigger space than what's in between the tile. That's groups. So all of these tiles are in the main group. All of these tiles are in the internet group. These tiles are in a group, and these tiles are in a group. Now, how did I get these tiles named, but these ones aren't? Well, I'll show you right now. If you want to name a group, you simply just zoom out, and I'll show you how I did that real quick. If you look down here at the bottom, there's this little box with a minus sign in it, and that will make you to where you can zoom out. So click on that and you can zoom out, and now you can deal with these groups the same way that you would a live tile. So if I right click a group, I get a toolbar and I can say name the group. So I've already named that group, so say I want to name this group over here. If I right click it, name group, and I'll call this I don't know, tools. So now that group is named. If I want to get back to the zoomed in full mode of the start screen, you just click and it brings you right back. And now that group is named. Also, from the zoomed out view, if I want to rearrange a group, this is where I would do it. So now I can just click and drag a group and move it wherever I want. So if I want my tools to be first, or I want my tools before the internet group, I can do that right there. And then click, and I'm back. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is zones. Now, zones are very important in a non-touchscreen Windows 8 setup. So with the touchscreen, you use gestures for getting to certain things. In a non-touchscreen, so mouse and keyboard, you use zones. So the first zone we're going to talk about is the upper left zone. And if I go to the upper left, you'll see I get nothing. The reason for that is I haven't launched an app. So let's go ahead and launch the desktop app. Now, this looks very familiar. It's a desktop just like Windows 7 or Windows 8, or it's a desktop just like you would get in like Windows 7. If you go up to the next thing we're going to talk about is zones. So zones are on Windows 8 important if you're using a keyboard and mouse setup. You don't really use them so much on a touchscreen because you use gestures for doing the same sort of thing. But when you don't have a touchscreen, you'll be using these zones. So the first zone I want to talk about is the upper left zone, and to use that zone, we should open up a couple of apps. So I'll go ahead and launch the music app. This might take a little while, so I might cut out here and kind of splice it in just because it's running on the virtual machine and it takes a little while. Oh, there it goes. That was actually pretty quick. So now I've launched the music app. I'll go back to the home screen and I'll show you how to do that in a little while. And I will launch the sports app. This one is taking a little bit longer. And the first time, and this is a brand new virtual machine, so the first time that you run these, sometimes they take a little bit longer, and also sometimes they have some setup required. So they'll ask you things like, can we use your location, or have you log in to whatever service it is that you're using. And then from then on, it should remember that information and would load much quicker. So there we go. We've got our sports app, and I had launched my music app. So now if I want to use zones, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the start screen. And I'm going to go up to the upper left. And you'll see that the last app that I was using shows up. You can think of the upper left zone as kind of like a back button. and it'll take you to the last thing that you were doing. But the start screen isn't included in that, so that's a little bit interesting. So if I click the sports page, now the next thing will be I was working on the music app. So I can click the music app and it'll take me there. And the thing I was using before that was the desktop. So I can click the desktop and it will take me there, and then it's back to the sports. So we've kind of closed the loop there. And this has to do only with apps. So you'll notice it's not taking me to the start screen at all. It's just cycling me through the apps that I had open. The next zone that we'll talk about is the bottom left zone. So the bottom left zone is similar. Okay, it depends on what you're doing. If you're on the start screen, it works similar to the back button in that it will take you to the last app that you were working on. But if you're anywhere else, if you're in an app, if you're on the desktop, if you're anywhere else, if you go to the bottom left, the start menu or start screen will pop up. So it'll take you back to the start screen. So on the start screen, it takes you to the last app you were working on. Anywhere else, the bottom left zone takes you back to the start screen. Another way to get back to the start screen, just real quick, is hitting the Windows button on your keyboard. So if you click the Windows button, it does the exact same thing as going to this bottom left zone. So if I click the Windows key right now, it will take me back to the sports app or the music app, whatever I was using last. If I click the Windows button again, it will take me back to the start screen. If I open up the sports app by clicking on the tile, it relaunches, by the way. When you click on a tile, it relaunches the application. It doesn't open it, take it back out of the multitasking. Kind of interesting. But anyway, from here, I can click on the Windows button and it will take me back to the start screen. So that's the upper left and the bottom left. The next thing we'll look at is it's kind of like a gesture, I guess, but with the mouse. So you would go to either the top left or the bottom left, doesn't matter, but wait for it to show up and then just drag down. And what you'll get is a menu of all of the applications that you have open. So from here, I can see a little snippet of the apps that I have open. And by clicking on them, I can just jump right to them. Now, another way to get them open is to, again, go to the top corner, drag down, and you can click and hold and drag out. And if you drop it in the center, it'll open full screen. I can do the same thing, only this time I'm going to drag it out and just drag it out. Instead of dragging it out to the center, I'm just going to drag it out a little bit. And this is called snapping. And so now it will snap that application in a, I don't know, like 1/3 little pane on the left-hand side. That app's still opening, obviously. And you get this little bar. Now, this app is running and this app is running, so you get kind of a multitasking thing going on. So you can have your sports here, or actually it would probably be better to do it the other way. So if you see I have this little drag bar, I can drag it over, and now my sports app is the main one and my music app is a small one. Kind of cool. If you are actually playing something, let's see if I can actually do this on the virtual machine. I wonder what it'll do. Josh Groban. All right. Let's just do a preview. Hopefully this isn't too loud. I didn't actually test this, so I apologize if it blows us out here. But now if I snap that, what I get is, hopefully, I get some little, I basically get a small way to interact with the music that I have. So I can pause, I can go to the next. This would be a whole list if I had a playlist going on. It shows me some album art, and yeah, so I can just like pause it and still deal with this application, but in a different sort of condensed view while I'm still over here and looking at my sports. So that's snapping. Let's look at how to, so if you look over here, these are the apps we have open. Now you might be wondering, well, how do I close an application? Like I want to close it. I don't want it open anymore. I don't, for whatever reason you want to close it. There's a couple ways you can do it. The easiest way is to right click, close. It's done. It's closed. It's gone. Another way to do it, and this is sort of, if you're used to the touchscreen version of Windows 8, this is kind of using it like the touchscreen, how the touchscreen works, and that is drag it out, and it's not letting me do it. It's having trouble with my mouse on this virtual machine for some reason. But let's see if I can do it a different way here. So if I go up to the top, you'll see I get the little hand. Let's see if it'll let me do it. And if I click, the hand closes, and I can drag it and drop it right down in the bottom, and now it's gone. So just a couple ways to close it. If you're used to using it the way that the touchscreen works, it works exactly the same way. Also, now that I've played something, my music tile has come alive, which is, something you'll get used to using live tiles. So the last thing we're going to talk about in this sort of basics video is the charms bar. And this one is, it's another zone, and it's over to the left, and it's either the top left or the bottom left. It doesn't matter. You'll see these little icons come out. And then if you just go over to the left, do the same sort of gesture that you do to get your history bar open. Go over to the left and drag down, and now you have your charms bar is activated. From the charms bar, you have access to your search, share. You can get back to the start screen from over here as well, devices, and settings. And we'll go ahead and go down the list real quick. So search is a very sort of powerful function in Windows 8, and Windows 8 is heavily based on this search function. So what you can do is search for anything, really. I mean, if I want to get to an app that I don't have on my start screen, I can just search for it. So say I want to open the snipping tool, start typing, and it filters your list of apps down to whatever you're looking for. One thing I'll show you related to this is if you're on the start screen and you want to open something that isn't on the start screen, or that is on the start screen but you just want to do it a different way, you don't even have to go to the charms bar, just start typing. So if I want to open that snipping tool again, I'll just start typing S-N-I-P, and it takes me to search, and I'm searching right away through my apps, which is kind of a cool thing. So again, just start typing and your search will open. Now you'll notice underneath search, I have all of these different icons. Those are all of the things that I can search. So if I want to search settings for something that starts with SNI, as I've typed here, we'll see there's one thing that matches, and I'm not quite sure why that matches. I don't really see SNI, but it does for whatever reason. Files, I have no files on this machine. It's brand new, so let's go ahead and clear the search, and we'll search for something else. So let's go into settings, and we'll search for, let's say I wanted to change the resolution on my computer. Resolution. So start typing resolution. Adjust screen resolution is a setting that I can change. We're not going to get into settings in this video, but just to let you know, that's how you would get to your settings. And a lot of these settings are named in ways that you'd be able to find them. So if you're saying I want to deal with my mouse, it's not just mouse. There is one called just mouse, but there's also things like change mouse settings, change how the mouse pointer looks, change how the mouse pointer looks when it's moving, change mouse clicks, change, those sort of things. It's very descriptive, so that if you're not really sure where to do these things, you can just sort of search like you would search the internet. Like, how do I change my mouse cursor? You can sort of type that in here and it will find it for you, the setting that you need to change to do what you're wanting to do. The next thing that you can change, you'll see there's a bar. These are sort of the system searches. So you have your apps, your settings, and your files. These are the things that are on your machine. Below are the apps that have search functions as well. So Bing is all about search. So let's go ahead and click Bing, and it'll go ahead and search it for whatever we have already typed in our search menu. It's going to search Bing for that keyword or keywords. Go ahead and let that open. So there you go. It searched keyword for mouse, and we get all of the 34 million results for mouse. If we want, now did you notice that it kept my search term in there? So even though the charms bar went away and I was dealing with my app over here, when I go back to search, it still has mouse typed in here. So if I said, okay, well, I didn't find what I was looking for at Bing, I want to just go on to, say you had a Google search, or if you had something else, or maybe you were looking for some of your photos that have to do with a mouse, right? You could do that here. If you wanted to look in the store and you said, I want to see if there's any apps on the Windows Store with the word mouse in them. There probably is. I can't tell you what they would be. I didn't test this ahead of time, so kind of curious now. But so yeah, I mean, search is a pretty powerful tool. You can just search anything, and any app that has search enabled will show up here. So if you install a new app and it has search enabled, it'll be in here. If you install Netflix, Netflix will show up in here. So without even opening up Netflix, you can type in whatever movie you're looking for, or actor or whatever, and then click the Netflix button, and it will open up Mickey Mouse cartoons. Cool. Okay, so the next thing in the charms bar is share. So one of the things that's interesting about the charms bar is it is context sensitive. So what I mean by that is it knows, based on what app you have open, it will do a certain thing. So if I'm in the music app listening to Josh Groban, and I open up search, it's going to default to searching the music app. It didn't default the apps like search did when I was on the start screen. When I'm on the start screen and I click search, it defaults to searching for apps. When I'm on the music app and I click search, it defaults to searching for music. So it knows where you are and it changes depending on that. And share works the same way. So if you're in an app that has sharing capabilities, when you click on share, music doesn't, apparently. There's nothing to share right now. First, choose an artist, album, or song to share. So let's go ahead and go back into Josh Groban here. Click on, so we're in Josh Groban. Let's click on share. And now we can share Josh Groban with anybody in our mail or any of the people in our People Hub. And if you had, say, a Twitter app that enabled sharing, it would show up here too. So any apps that have sharing enabled for this type of data, whatever type of data this is, it will show up here. So you could say, I want to tweet about Josh Groban, or I want to put a Facebook post about Josh Groban, or, all these great things that you can say about Josh Groban. I'm not a huge Josh Groban fan, in case you're getting the wrong impression here. But, you know, he was the first one I clicked on. Okay, so let's share. Start, pretty self-explanatory. Click on start, takes you to the start screen. There's lots of ways to get back to the start screen. That was one of the complaints that a lot of people had was, how do I get back to the start screen? It's so hard. Well, it's not apparent maybe because a lot of these functions are hidden, but there are lots of ways. I mean, click the start button, go to the bottom left corner, click the start button here. They've made it really easy to get back to the start screen if you know. So I can see where the confusion is, but once you know, there's all kinds of ways to get back to the start screen. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is devices. So let's go ahead and open up something that would use a device. So I'm trying to think here. Let's go to Internet Explorer. Now devices, again, it's context sensitive. So if you're in Internet Explorer and you want to look for devices, it's going to be devices that can do something with an internet window. So right now there's nothing you can do. If I had a printer plugged in, I don't right now. I could plug one in, but I'm not going to do that. But if I had a printer plugged in, it would give me the option to print. So if I wanted to print out this page, under devices would show my printer, and that's where I would do that. So basically devices is just devices that you have connected that can work with the app that you are using right now. Finally, we have settings, and settings is, again, it's sort of a hybrid because it's context sensitive, meaning that it's the settings for whatever app or screen that you're on right now, but it also has underneath this bar a static set of settings that are there all the time. So you'll always have a network button, you'll always have a audio button, you'll always have a brightness button. Now brightness is used for screens that can do brightness, I guess. If you don't have a screen, so say you just have a monitor, like right now on my laptop I can adjust the brightness. On monitors it doesn't have a brightness level, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of a mobile thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You adjust the brightness here, whereas on my laptop, like I can push function and bump up the brightness or take it down, but it's not the same. It's not considered the same thing. Oh man, I just screwed it up. Okay. So anyway, it's unavailable because Windows can adjust the brightness on this display, because that's really a setting for mobile devices like a tablet or something like that. It's a little confusing, but unfortunately that's just how it is. Notifications. So clicking on notifications isn't going to give you a notifications handler. Like a lot of people think you click on notifications, you're going to see all of the notifications for things, sort of like on a mobile, like a phone or something like that, like a notifications view. That's not really what it's about. Notifications is about, do you want to hide notifications? So what do you want to do with notifications? So say you're doing a presentation at work or something, and you don't want your Twitter notifications coming through, or you don't want, your little emails or messaging notifications to pop up. You can say hide for an hour, or hide for 3 hours, or hide for 8 hours, and it will hide notifications. So you'll still get the messages, but they just won't be what you get. Usually is a little box that sort of pops up in the upper right corner, and you won't get that if you turn the notifications off. Power is all of the power options that you have. So if you click on power, you can shut down, update, and restart. So I guess there's an update pending for Windows 8 that I have on this virtual machine. So if I clicked update and restart, it would update and then restart the computer. Keyboard, again, this is sort of a mobile setting. So if I had a tablet that didn't have a physical keyboard, I can click keyboard and it would display the keyboard. And I can also change sort of how the keyboard looks, and but we'll get into that on the touch version of the Windows 8 basics. And then you have change PC settings. So this is where, and we'll get into this a little bit, just real quick, but I haven't even activated this Windows yet. This is where you have your basic settings. So this is where you can personalize your start screen and lock screen and picture. I can't do it right now because I haven't activated this Windows 8. I probably won't activate it just because I want to keep it kind of clean. Users, this is where you can manage your users. So if you want to add another user to this machine, you can click add user, change your password, change your picture, different things. Notifications. This is where you can pick what apps you want to receive notifications from. So say you don't want to get video notifications, you can turn those off. If you don't want to have sounds, if you don't want to show app notifications on the lock screen, that sort of thing. Search. This is where you can pick what apps you want to be able to search. So by default, when you install an app that can search, it will just show up and it'll be turned on. If you never search travel and you don't want it in your list, click it and it'll be gone. It just takes it right out of your list. Share, same here. What apps do you want? These apps use share. Which apps do you want to use share for? So if you never want to share to with mail, you turn your mail off. General has general settings, so your time zone, app switching, just general settings. It could be different depending on what types of things you have. Privacy options, let apps use my location, that sort of thing. Devices, which devices you have connected to your machine. So if I had a printer, it would show up here. Ease of access, options, syncing your settings. Now this is kind of a cool thing about Windows 8 is if you have multiple machines, like I have a Surface and I have this computer running Windows 8, my settings are synced between the two. So when I change my background on this computer, it changes on my Surface. When I arrange, I'm not sure that it does the live tile arrangements. I know it knows which tiles I have on my screen. So if I remove certain tiles from my start screen, it will remove them from my Surface. So it's just kind of a cool way to keep your settings in sync between all of your machines. And you can turn those on and off. So if you don't want app settings to sync, if you don't want browser settings to sync, you can turn those off here. Home group is a networking thing for your home network. Windows Update, this is where you can check to see if you have any updates available for your machine. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in the basic tutorial. We're going to do some more interactive, in-depth, tutorials later on. And I hope that you guys will join us for that, and I hope this was useful. I'm going to have a touchscreen version of this. I'm going to be using my Surface, and I'm going to kind of do the camera shot of that. So if you want to see that, that'll be up later. Thanks for watching, and please rate and subscribe. I apologize for saying all the time. That's kind of something I'm working on, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.